So I broke his jaw. If his jaw weren't broke, it would have been sweet, but his jaw was broken 2 places here and there. It's just swinging, right? So what happens in that process is this. Because it was a violent assault, if you like, the first thing that the police were asking me when they came to interview me about it, have you ever been a boxer? Have you ever been a professional fighter and all this? So you just say no straight away. You're on it, because the minute you say you're a professional fighter, that's it, you're finished. So what the process is, if you assault someone, normally you'd be placed on an adjudication by the prison authorities, right? But because it was severe, because they couldn't deal with it, and it's being referred to the police, they've only got a certain amount of time to get you with an adjudication. Now, because I was in the segregation unit for 3 months waiting for this police investigation to be dealt with, the block basically, that's where I got me level 3 qualification, because whilst I was in that block, I bought a distant learning of health and fitness and done that while I was in the block. You know, that's how I got that qualification. But because the 3-month duration, once the police have interviewed me and not charged me, they couldn't all about the adjudication, because they've only got 28 days from the initial offence to charge you with the adjudication. So what they done to wreck me head, because I couldn't be punished for any of it, I just got shipped to Bullingdon. I can laugh now about it, but trust me, as I was saying earlier on, like, jail is a loser's game. Jail is for the man that's not smart. You know, it's not a clever man's life sitting in jail like a dickhead. And you see kids that are going to prison for crimes where they've earned something like £350, and they're coming in with for 2 years for a theft of £350. And I used to sit there and when I'd have conversations with everyone, you know, I was very approachable in prison, but if you know, it was the wrong thing to do. So I could interact with loads of different people. So what I used to do while I was in people is just speak to individuals about the crimes, and some of them, loads of them actually, would come to me with the legal documents and ask me for my advice on what they should do in their current situations with the charges and the trials and so on and so forth. So I'd speak to these kids and I'd say, how much so you've done this, how much did you get? Say it was a commercial burglary or something. Now, back in the day, if the commercial burglary weren't over £1,000, your offence wouldn't go to Crown Court. You're on it. But if you'd done enough commercial burglaries, you were a prolific offender, you'd end up going to the Crown Court. Anyway, you'd get these kids in. So how much do you get off that burg? £350. And I thought, I would sit there and think to myself, and this is what I'd say to them: you're a soft handy lad. Why am I a soft? You've earned £350 off what you've done. You're sitting in here now for 2 years. You would have got more in a year off the benefit system. You would have got more in a year off the benefit system. And that's what a lot of kids don't understand. They're going out, they're selling drugs, they're getting paid in a couple of £100 a week. They go to jail for 4 years. They will have earned 10 times more than what they've been paid if they would have just been on the benefit system for 4 years instead of sitting in prison. Does that make sense? No? I'm not surprised, mate. Jail's a crazy gaff. As I say, it's very volatile, especially these days with the impact of spice and synthetic roaming around. You've got a lot of kids that have formed crazy addictions on that spice, and they will cut the face off you for nothing. If someone offers them a little bit of spice, they will cut the face off you for it. So it's not a nice place to be, prison. Now, although you see all these videos on TikTok and your social media platforms of bellends thinking the boss because they've got loads of canteen and they've got this and they've got a phone and the. Ignore that. Do you understand? That is nonsense. They're making the best of a very, very, very bad situation, and that's the best it's ever going to be for them. 10 pot noodles, 20 shower gels, smackheads dancing. You know, you've only got to look at the dickheads that are roaming around in prison right now, and you mightn't think that the dickheads, look, there's a lot of serious individuals in prison right now. There's a lot of, how can I call them decent when the crimes are not decent, if you understand what I'm saying. But you get what I mean, don't you? There's a lot of serious individuals in prison right now. And every single one of them that are doing double figures, it doesn't matter how much money they've had outside. It doesn't matter what girls they've banged, what festivals they've gone to, what cars they've drove, what clothes they've had on. Every single one of them serious individuals that are doing serious jail will tell you straight, it's a mugs game. You don't gain nothing from it. Yeah, you gain knowledge and power because you're reading, but the point I'm trying to make to you is all them rich millionaire dealers that was on your streets a few years ago and then get wiped out and put in prison, every one of them would give their external wealth up in a flash to get free again. And as I keep on saying, and I've been saying since I've got out, you need to start showing gratitude to what you've got in your life. You need to start appreciating the basic things in life outside of prison. Trust me, because you can have all the money in the world. When you go into prison, you're a broken man. If you're not broke initially, a few years later, you're broken. Why? Because when you're outside and you're on your money chase and you're on your money flow and you're flowing with your gang and you're popular and you've got these people constantly in contact with you, you've got these girls wanting you, majority of them just because you've got dough or you've got this notoriety outside, eventually it disappears in prison. And when it disappears, so do your associates from outside. If you don't know what an associate is, it's an individual that comes in your life when you start making money. And when your life starts going, you disappear. There's only so many friends in your life, real, true friends. And you can count them on one hand. You can't count them on two. And anyone will tell you, after 5-6 years in prison, the majority of your big gang and your notoriety disappears. You can be Pablo Alfabar on your streets. You can be the main man. I'm Pablo Alfabar. You can be all this big notorious gunman. You can be this big part of this violent gang. The minute you get double figures and go into that system, you're irrelevant to the individuals that are incarcerated in that system. There's people in the system locked off doing life, doing 20 years, doing double figures, that you would never, ever have a chance to stand up against. It's different level of people. So when you're thinking you're notorious on the streets out here, when you get put in there, you're absolutely nothing. So that's why I keep on screaming, choose a life, not a knife, UK. Stay away from it. It's a mugs game. And when I'm in there, when I'm in prison and I'd associate with different people, different crimes, never sex offenders, ever. Just different people, different crimes, whether it was fraud, whether it was armed robbery, smuggling, kidnaps, all this. And what they always used to say, the old school. So I went in when I was 24 and I'd be mixing with 40-year-old men. And they'd been in the system for a long time, big Charlie smugglers and all this. And what they'd say is, don't let any freedom up, lad. The clever man gets out first. The clever man gets out first. The clever man gets out first and stays out. And I took that on board and I was thinking, you know what? You're half right. But in my mind, the clever man never goes to prison. The clever man never participates in dealings or committing crime to end up in here in the first place. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, in their eyes, I'm a clever man. Why? Because I got out of prison and I've remained out of prison. And for the majority of yous that have only went in and done little bum-nit sentences, I've sat on the bog longer than you've done jail. Do you understand what I'm saying? I've shaved more than you've spent in jail. Do you understand what I'm on about, lad? So trust me when I'm telling you, jail is a mug game. In my eyes, the clever man does not go to prison. The clever man does not participate in crime to risk his freedom, because there's only one thing that's priceless in your life, and it's your freedom. You mightn't think you've got any freedom in this state-controlled world. You mightn't think that it's free, but trust me, when you've sat in a box for over a decade, looking at bars, looking at the walls, conquering your emotions without substances, you understand just how precious freedom is. And I'll go back to say what I said 10 minutes ago. There's millionaires in that prison system right now. They've got all the wealth in the world, what they've made from crime. But they'd give the right arm and the right leg to get out, and all the money. They'd get out skint as long as they weren't free. And there's thousands of men in the system that would give everything they've earned out of crime up just to get out and be with their little child, just to get out and be with the family, just to get out and create a family and have a baby. I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky, people, whether you like it or not. You mightn't think I'm lucky, but in my eyes, I'm very lucky to be getting out of prison and being able to have a child. Do you understand? There's men that's gone in when their child's 4. You know, the kids are 16 now. There's men that's gone in there when the child was 4. The kids are 16 now. But they've got another dad in the house. They've got a stepfather taking the place of the real father. Do you understand what I'm saying? You've got a lot to lose if you've got children, trust me. Because whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter who your woman is. It doesn't matter how religious she is. It doesn't matter how loyal she was to you on the outside world. Her life doesn't stand still when you go to prison. And that's if you've got kids or not. They do their utmost to remain loyal. They do their utmost to keep you sweet and keep you happy while you're in prison. But at the end of the day, every woman has got her needs. And trust me, if you go into prison with double figures, if you go in and get wrecked off because you think you're a notorious gunman, and you have got kids, you have got a beautiful girlfriend who you want to start a family with, you have just had a young child with your girlfriend, and then you get yourself lifed off. It is what it is. There's going to be another man in your woman and in the mind of your kids. You know, your kids are going to respect and appreciate some man because you're locked off in prison like a soft. You've got to understand what the risks are. You've got to really appreciate what the risks are when you're jeopardising your freedom for the instant fast cash life